There are two movements in which we can live, where we can spend our days. The two movements can have different names, but centrally in their core, in spite of having different names, they are there are only these two movements. We can name them material movement or immaterial movement. We can identify them as a movement in time and a timeless movement, or we can call it known and the unknown. In whatever way we want to identify them, name them, they are these two separate movements. One is which can be perceived, felt, understood through our own senses, which is the material movement, the movement of time, and that which is known to us. All of these can be touched, felt, seen, etc. They are the movement of the senses, the outward movements. And then there is the other movement, which is immaterial, which is independent of material, which is timeless. Time cannot change or shift its momentum, it is unaffected by time, and this movement is unknown. We cannot know it beforehand, or we cannot keep it in memory. We cannot store it in our mind. It cannot be stationary, it cannot be stored. We cannot collect it, we cannot accumulate it. It is beyond accumulation. So there are these two separate movements. And before even going into what is immaterial, unknown, and timeless, what we are familiar with and which we have to talk about, or it is the movement that we can only know, is the movement of the material, is the movement of time. It is all of that which is known to us, or that can be known, because in that moment is where our life is. We have the material to touch, grasp, or interact with. We have time as a function of the material. There would be things that would be born in time, that start in some period of time and then slowly and steadily die with time as well. Everything that can be known is stored in our memory as experiences, and all of this is the current fact of our life. The status quo is this first movement, which is material, which is the status quo of our life is of material, is within time, is what is known to us. And there is a tendency within us to or at least we assume that we will, without knowingly or unknowingly, we assume that we would reach something timeless, we would reach an immaterial happiness through material, we would reach a certain timeless security through the things that are perishable in time. And is that so? Can we really go from one movement to this other movement? Can we, through the movement of material and time, through what is known to us, can step in to what is unknown, to that in which that is, can we step in to a movement that is timeless through time, creating relationship with things that are of time? Can we really have that timeless security that we seek, something that time cannot destroy? Since material is perishable, can we have that immaterial joy which is independent of the material? Without understanding the known, can we really come close to that which is unknown to us? And the difference, the separation between these two movements is really subtle. It cannot be perceived in terms of, in gross terms. It cannot be perceived in material. The significance of the immaterial cannot be understood through the senses which perceive, which can only perceive that which is material. Unless we understand completely and thoroughly what is material and our interaction with it, unless we see the limitations of the things that are in time and of time itself, unless we see the futility of that which is known to us, there is no question of stepping into the other movement. Our whole life is the interaction of time, material, and that which is known to us. As far as we are concerned and our current life is concerned, the unknown, the timeless, the immaterial is just a fanciful story, is just a utopian idea for us. And does it have to be a utopian idea, a fancy that we'll only hear of in books and in fairy tales? Is there a possibility for a serious human in their lifetime to comprehend the timeless, to see the vastness of the unknown, to understand the depth of that which is immaterial. Is there a possibility for such a human who is serious and who sees the futility of time, of material, of memory, and their own experiences, and the limitation of this whole movement, and seeing that, is it possible to step into the other movement, or the seeing itself is that timeless, that seeing itself is immaterial, and it's this seeing alone which gets us close to the unknown. Can we watch and totally comprehend for ourselves the partial nature of material, of time, that all our interactions in time and with the material will always be incomplete, will always be partial, and is life in itself only material? Is life only time? Is the vastness of life can the memory, can that which is known contain the vastness of life? In our experiences, in our daily interactions, can we really stuff life up? Because material is in itself limited, time is in itself a limitation, and so our interaction, our engagement with that which is material and in time will always be limited and partial. It can never be whole, it can never be complete. It will always be divisive. It will always keep the one who is interacting intact. In our engagement with the material, what we wish is to become one with material. In our relationships, all we want is to somehow be one with the other. But our efforts, we have to understand, is in the direction of making material interact with the material and somehow wishing that they become one. Upon a constant observation of life, it would be clear that our interactions with the material are not really a match with what is within. We may think to ourselves that we need material, that we need to be in time, because since we think of ourselves as an entity in time and of material, we think all our thirst will be quenched by the objects in time. And so this interaction is always a mismatch. Our thirst is of a deeper understanding of who we are. And when one understands oneself, one sees that one's primary requirement is not of the material, is not to collect and accumulate that which is known to us, is not to seek security in possessions, and that possessions can be material or immaterial also. Which immaterial is subtle material here only, which is memory, experiences, etc. This is subtle material. And so the accumulation of this material is not what truly answers the thirst that we feel within. When we understand and perceive, comprehend for ourselves the totality of our interaction with the material and with things in time, only then we are able to see for ourselves that this is probably not it, that it is not the answer. The material, time, memory, experiences, our accumulation is not the answer to the thirst within, to a certain emptiness within. And this understanding alone, this seeing, this constant watchfulness of oneself liberates us from our dependency on the material, liberates us from time itself. The thirst within can only be answered when we understand the one who is thirsty. Without understanding the one who is thirsty, all our efforts to quench his thirst are in vain. It's a wasteful exercise for us, for the thirsty, to keep on seeking the material, the time, for it to go beyond time and beyond material, to occupy and concern oneself with the other movement, which is timeless, of the immaterial, the movement that which is unknown, is futile, because to inquire into timelessness, to inquire into the immaterial, the unknown, is a petty attempt is something that would not lead, that will only lead to fanciful stories, ideas, imaginations from our end. How can we make up theories about that which is unknown? Because all our theories about the unknown would come from the sources that are known to us. All our theories and structures that we build to understand the timeless movement would be from the memory and experiences that are of time. To understand and inquire into this other movement is becomes a useless exercise on our part. What is then useful is to inquire into time, is to inquire into material and our relationship with it, is to inquire into the known. The intense, the further, the deeper our inquiry into material and the processes of material in time, in that which is known to us, the wider, the total, the complete would be our understanding of the other movement. The road to the second movement can only lead from understanding, from learning about the first movement. We have to give ourselves to understanding of this first movement, because our senses, our mind are perpetually in interaction with things of the time, with material. And it is this interaction, this relationship that we have to understand. If we are occupying and are totally concerned with timelessness and with the unknown and the immaterial, all of these efforts are of a cunning mind, a mind which thinks itself to be clever enough to go directly into that which is timeless and unknown. And all its attempts only shows its idiocy. For us to understand, for us to even comprehend, to come close to this second movement, we have to first come close to the movement of forms, of material. It is through the understanding of the first movement that we can even think of going close to the movement that is timeless, that at its core is still, but it's in its stillness is the intensity of the movement that is beyond time.